I am so excited for our guest today because she is not only a friend, she's a real friend. I adore her and I'm lucky. That's what I can say. So it's Courtney Nzeribe. Oh, see, I almost forgot. It's a
Close
beautiful,
enough.
close
Close enough.
enough. Okay. Everyone that listens to us knows that I massacre people's names. It's not on purpose. I'm not trying hard enough. I have a thing with, it doesn't matter if it's phonics or anything. And that's all I can tell you.
Nzeribe. Nzeribe.
Nzeribe, beautiful. It really rolls off your tongue if you say it correctly. Now,
Thank you.
let's tell everybody, the audience, why Courtney's here today. Courtney is a equipment specialist, meaning cooking equipment. She is also a chef. She also trains people in equipment and in cooking demos. And my favorite part of Courtney, because she does a lot, is she's an artist. That's how I met Courtney at an IACP dinner in Chicago, where Courtney lives, through mutual friends. And then we became friends on Facebook, but I have bought several pieces of Courtney's art.
You're my best fan.
I'm so glad. Beautiful pieces. And actually, I can send Cindy one or two take a picture of the art that I bought from you, and she could put that up when we broadcast you too. So welcome, Courtney, after that lengthy introduction.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, thrilled. Now, this is our topic for today because, of course, here we are on November something. We never say the date because we don't know when things are going to air all the time. But here we are, smack dab, Courtney, getting ready for the holidays.
Yep.
Now, I want you to know I am notorious for making some gifts, for sending checks, because I have friends that younger people want a gift card. So I'm not embarrassed by that. And I've made some gifts, but I really want you to talk to us about cooking equipment as Christmas gifts, because that's what you are an expert. This morning, I was drinking my tea, thinking of you coming on as a guest, and there was a huge, big sale at one of the biggest cookware stores going on. Yeah. And I thought, is that the time people should be looking to buy presents for friends?
Yes. So with your major cookware retailers, you're going to start seeing Black Friday kickers with certain brands that are probably coming into the store, but they probably won't go up until like that week of Thanksgiving or a few days ahead. So keep your eye out on that. Normally there are limited supplies and colors, first come, first serve. But in major retailers like Williams-Sonoma, you will see those. A lot of what's going on with retailers right now is they're trying to sell through what they have, the inventory. Pandemic actually was a boom for the cookware industry. Everybody was shopping.
We're cooking.
Yeah, cooking, anything related to the kitchen, from coffee machines to knives to everything. People were at home and they were rediscovering cooking. So we are seeing the after effects of 2 to 3 years of consumers buying, especially with their stimulus checks, or, not having to pay for gas and transportation, going to work or buying clothes to keep up with the office culture. They're putting it in their home, in their kitchen. So now we're sitting on a lot of stuff. The supply chains have opened up. So the inventory is there, but buyers are cautious. They're not really buying a lot right now. But there's a lot of inventory to be had. It's the time, if it's not in your store, because a lot of the stuff is online as opposed to in store, because it's just easier for buyers to keep it in the warehouse because most people are shopping online. This is the time. I know customers want this instant satisfaction. Like, I want it now. I want to leave it with it now. Well, life is not perfect. So yeah, let your salesperson order it for you. The turnaround will be quick. It's not like you're waiting months and months for that sofa to leave a container ship from China. It's coming. So be open to, if you're going into a store asking a salesperson for advice, and it's not there, be open to letting them order it for you rather than you going on your phone or going home and ordering it for them. So we complain about the service industry, but we have to help the service industry and these retailers.
So well said, honey. I went, when we bought this house, washer and dryer that came with it were pretty old. Okay.
Mhm.
And we've been here almost 4 years. So I got another 4 years out of it. Typical of us. I didn't have new washer and dryer in the old house. I'd gotten my monies out of it. I felt like it. But, I don't want to move stuff like that. Okay. I don't want to move it. So yesterday, when you were talking about with retail, we walked into Lowe's, which is where we've bought appliances before. The nicest kid was the expert. But it was great, Courtney. We had picked out one we wanted, and then he was very honest and said, I don't know when these will be in.
Mm-hmm.
And he was honest. He said, it could be, I could tell you 2 weeks. I could tell you a month.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, I can't be a month or two without a washer and dryer. So we picked out something else that's beautiful and it's comparable. And we were just fine with it. And the real clicker was, because you said instant gratification, but it's pretty important when it's a washer and dryer.
Yeah.
He said, we can deliver it tomorrow.
Wow.
We did a 250% turnaround. You know what I mean? We bought a brand we weren't as close to, and we did this, but I'm so grateful. But it had to be, I saw other people saying things like, what do you mean you don't know what, to the other salesman, when it's going to be here? Well, how is the kid going to know?
Right. So many variables. Some websites will give you an idea. And then if they're coming direct from the vendor, you have to look at where the vendor's warehouses are. So, I mean, a lot of things outside of our control, like in life, like the past few years was outside of our control, but you just roll with it.
So well said. So out of our control. Mm-hmm. Now, when you go in, let's talk for a minute. If you're looking for somebody to buy a Christmas gift for, meaning someone that that does love to cook, do you have one thing that you think is probably at the top of your list?
As a gift giver, it's almost like you're a salesperson. You need to understand that person that you're buying that gift for. There's nothing worse than getting a crap gift from someone that is like, do you really think I would wear this? Or like, you don't know me. So there's nothing wrong with money. There is nothing wrong with a service. There is nothing wrong with your husband giving you a refrigerator or a blender if that's what you said you want. So those people understand your need and what you want. And I think with the way the world is going and the economy, we need to think about that. Are these people, there are a lot of cooks out there. Food is expensive. Yes, premium ingredients are expensive. Premium equipment is expensive. So we need to think, what do they really need? And I think those make the best gifts.
Well said. I know this. When I've given my niece, who is a good cook, and now it's so classic. She and her husband both worked, but she worked out of her home. She was a medical transcriber, brilliant girl. But she had 2 kids, and when they were growing up, she would say, like most women, it's so hard to think of something different for dinner every single night. I'd say, Leslie, you have to get a rotation of about 10 things. You know what I mean? Burgers, hot dogs, hamburgers, and meatloaf. You have to get a rotation of recipes and just try. Piece of fish, piece of chicken. When I sent her, I was at her house, and when I went to cook in her cabinets, I'd given her a food processor, which she used, and she bought herself a KitchenAid. But you know what, Courtney, I just bought her some simple casserole dishes, and she has made them for me a million times, because I said to her, you can put the chicken in here, you put the chicken parts in here, you put the chicken breasts in here.
Yes.
So besides just Pyrex, for years I only had Pyrex, but I have bought. Cindy will fix that. I have bought some not expensive, but a well-named brand of casserole dishes. And I
know which one. Yeah. They're great. They're great.
They cook better. That's what I really like them. I bought them now because they're pretty, and I have them on my counter because they're really pretty. But I use what everything cooks, I would say almost 30% faster in those casserole dishes.
Because you can serve them, you can even put them in the refrigerator. That brand, which I'm very related to, you can, they're just gonna last longer than your typical ceramic bakeware. So, and they're gonna go the distance. They're not gonna crack. They're not gonna craze with the glaze, and they're beautiful. So. Yeah.
I think that's it. And those are affordable. I mean, you could, I think if you spend, I mean, this is again, everybody's different. And it totally depends, as you said, and especially with our economy. Mm-hmm. Can you spend $100 on a Christmas gift? Maybe not for everyone. Do you know what I mean? Can you, it's, I mean, I look at what I don't have a lot of people to buy for. Mm-hmm. So my two grandniece and nephew, they always get checks or a gift card. Yeah. And they're really cute because they're both in college. And when I ask their mother, she says to me, get them a gift card at Target because that way they can get socks,
underwear, toiletries.
Exactly.
But the thing too, like the brand you were mentioning for your bakeware, you and I might think, okay, that's affordable. That's average. Our average may be out of the ordinary for someone else. A larger manufacturer like that, well, they're an independent company, but they have a parent company that is also producing similar cookware in different categories, from value price to more higher end. So do your research with a brand like that. If they can't afford the brand that you have, they have a value price entry that they might sell at a mass retailer like a Costco or a Walmart. Or so you're still getting some of those key benefits and features. They might be made in a different factory, but it's still the quality.
Now, you mentioned the magic word Costco. And
love Costco.
I love Costco. Mm-hmm. We love Costco. I don't shop there as much anymore, Courtney, because I only go like 2 or 3 times a year. When I had my little studio and Cindy and Bilma, the cleaning lady, and we made lunches more. I paper towels, we couldn't keep enough in stock, blah, blah. But now I really enjoy the trips because I don't go as often. Mm-hmm. But one of the things when you said Costco for a value priced item. So I had my mother's La Crusade. Now, some of this was from the 60s and 70s in that famous, not red, but the orangey color.
Volcanique. Volcanique.
God, know everything. Well, honey, I kept 1 or 2 pieces, but when she died, this is what I always say about grief. I kept every single piece because I wanted my mother. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I didn't always use it. Sometimes I used it as props, but I didn't use it as much. So when we purged and moved to the new house, Patty that worked with us took 1 piece that made me happy. People took different. It was great. I sold some. I kept 1 or 2 very pieces that I loved. So, but I gave away, but my mother had the big oval casserole thing. I think it weighed 40 pounds. Do you know? It took up 2 burners.
So that's when they made those super big sizes.
I don't know why she ever had that big of a pan, but she did. So I'm at Costco one day, and there is one in the candy apple red that I love in my kitchen now. Talk about packaging and marketing. And honey, it's big enough for like a 2 or 3 pound roast. You know what I mean? It's perfect for 2 people. It's perfect. Doesn't weigh a ton, looks really pretty. Well, it's the Kirkland brand. It's Costco's brand. It was only, I think I only paid like $39 for it. It was on special at Costco. Courtney, I can't tell you how much I've used that pan.
Well, and that's a thing about Costco and a lot of retailers. I see this with Williams-Sonoma too. Sur La Table does it as well. They might carry the Le Creuset or the other brands, but they are also making their own private label with those suppliers. So like at Williams-Sonoma, you will see their line of cookware made with Heston, which is a stainless steel cookware company out of Italy. They used to have an enamel cast iron that they made with stove enamel cast iron. I don't really see that anymore. So sometimes you're seeing, and like Costco's notorious, like when you think about liquor, for using the juice from other vineyards or distilleries for their own package. So again, value price, but you're getting those features and benefits. And it's like a kind of quiet deal, maybe that these retailers have worked out with their suppliers.
Well, I'll tell you, my Kirkland cherry red, beautiful oval casserole dish that's not as heavy and not so big. I use it all the time.
I love the ovals too, because you can put like a pork, like a porchetta or a roast or something, like a duck, something more. I always see a lot of hesitation. Well, why would I need that? It's the shape of what you're cooking. So yeah.
See, and that's because you're a chef, Courtney. Not every people that, and I've learned this with younger women that are friends of mine. And again, I had a friend for lunch. She's brilliant. She's an architect, but she doesn't know how to cook. She's never had to, and she just doesn't know how. So now she's has more time, because she was working at home and sending, and doing her. I gave her one or two recipes. And they were the simplest things: chicken breast wrapped in the cheese, and she cooked them, but she kept saying to me, I can't believe how delicious this was.
And easier than you think. It's so, like math. It's get beyond the block. It's
And then she went and found at Target their brand of the casserole dish. So it wasn't really expensive, but it was this pretty blue that she wanted. She said, I use that pan every day for something. I said, that's what happens. If you have good equipment.
Yeah.
And I don't think it always has to be the most expensive, but you have to find the equipment you like.
Yeah. Yeah. And some of it has, like, you handed down. I still use the old cast iron pan that I got from my mom, who got it from her mother. Lord knows how old that is. But if you keep on, seasoning it and taking care of it, even when you neglect it, you can always put it back to new. But it works. Are these the most expensive items? Some of them? No. Oh. But sometimes you just find things that really just hold the test of time and work.
I have a cast iron pan that was my grandfather's that must be 100 years old that I use all the time, Courtney. I mean, I use it for everything. And all the things they tell us about not washing it. Well, I have to be honest with you. I wash it a tiny bit, but not with soap. I mean, just hot water and then I oil it, and it's still fantastic. I just
baking soda to take out any
smell.
Or
smart idea. I never used baking soda. I've used salt.
Yeah, salt. But I like the baking soda because it's a little bit like more fine. You can make a paste, and it takes out the odors and all that.
That's a great tip. I just got a magazine that was just, wanted me to subscribe, and their cover story was cast iron back in style. And inside I thought, when did cast iron?
It never went away. It never went away. It's like the black turtleneck. It's like, what are you talking about?
The editor was desperate that day for a lead story because as far as I'm concerned, cast iron never goes out. Now,
well, for young people, I guess it's a new thing.
Courtney, and you and I have talked about this before, and I so get it. And young people are not supposed to be like me. They're supposed to discover the world in their own way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I like that. But there are days that when I read headlines about cooking things and I think,
what really?
Is that really? And then I always say the same thing. I say my mother made that recipe from Sunset Magazine in the 1990s.
Yeah.
Now, my darling, here's a big question. Knives in the kitchen.
Knives. So
I've gone to the fanciest homes in Malibu. I'm talking the $13,000 Sub-Zero refrigerator. And I go to cook, just on cooking.
Miele, Jura, coffee machines built in the
All
wall,
that.
everything.
You see those cappuccino machines, and then I would say, now I know, but I'd say, what did that cost? And I remember this one said, oh, it was cheap, and it was only like $5,000. And I remember thinking, for a coffee maker.
Yeah.
But I go into their drawers, Courtney, and the knife is like a 99-cent knife from the grocery store.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest. So with this current role that I'm doing, it's more specialized with cutlery, although they have a lot of cookware and such. And as a salesperson, before I started this role, I was always like, when you have that knife customer, I just don't want to go over there. I didn't get it. I grew up in a household in the 70s and 80s where I think my parents got their knives from the supermarket. That's all we knew. And it was always nice if they got a fresh one because it was sharper. But I never really realized that. Even when I started cooking, I knew knives were important, but you start using the best that what you have and you make it work. I thought my knife skills were more important than the knife, although I knew certain knives worked better for me. And, when you're starting out in your 20s and 30s, you use what you have. We didn't hear about Japanese knives growing up. I think the only Japanese knife we heard growing up were watching Ginzu, like infomercials, and that was it. But now as we're getting more sophisticated culinary wise and we travel, the fortunate ones are traveling and we see, okay, there are differences. I think people appreciate artisan quality and craftsmanship more. And so we're the world is opening up and there's opportunity. So people don't realize, and I always give this spiel with training and customers, you have stamp knives and you have forged knives. Your stamp knives aren't bad. They're going to be more value priced, and starting out, maybe that's all you can afford. There's a knife maker, Afro-American knife maker I've been watching, Middleton Knives, over the years. And I remember seeing something on YouTube, and he's like, and he hand makes all his knives, but he's like, all my knives are stamped. I just don't do the forging. And forging basically means it has a bolster. Yeah. So it's forged, and it's flush to the handle. Whereas a stamp knife looks like you're just putting the blade into the handle and it has rivets. But all the features that are mentally telling you, okay, this knife is going to be secure, other than that supermarket knife that you probably cut yourself when the blade swung out the handle or fell apart or something and got loose. So a stamp knife can be a good knife, as that Middleton person was making, but because that's his comfort level as an artist or bladesmith making stamp knives. They're works of art. And so I always tell my customers, do you want a stamp knife or do you want a forged knife? Because they can have the same features, they can have rivets, they're just missing the bolster. The steel is a Western knife is going to be a softer steel anyway. Is it going to last forever? Who knows? So that's all in how you treat it. Like I tell any customer, some things are going to have a lifetime guarantee, or a nonstick pan might last you up to 5 years, but you can burn the crap out of it in 1 year because you're not following the directions on how to use it and usage. So it's an investment. I'm finding that customers, especially dealing with young couples and registry, they like the pretty knives. Yeah, and they like everything matchy. It doesn't have to be all matchy. It doesn't have to be all in a block. Many knives are sold individually. So a true knife collector, or knife geek as I call them, can have a little Shun. They can have a little Miyabi. They can have a little Global, like I do. And they're all good. They're all our children. It's just some children we like better for this, some children we like better for that. So does it have to be expensive? No. It also depends on where you want. If you have a second or third home, maybe you want a cheaper set. If you have kids, maybe you want some ceramic or cheaper sets. So there's so many avenues you can go. It doesn't mean that they're bad knives. The thing is, how do you take care of your knives? Knives don't go bad. We just don't take care of them. You have to protect, like really maintain and nurture your knives.
So much information. Now, let me tell you, I'm going to pick one or two of those things.
Mm-hmm.
When I went to culinary school, they gave us a list from all different prices because everybody had different economic things. I bought a set of Wusthof tridents in those days. Now, I think I bought a chef's knife, a fish fillet knife, because they told me I needed it with that real flexible.
Yeah.
A pair
or boning. Yeah.
Boning knife. I bought those 4. Now, I need you to know, I still have those 4 knives.
Yeah.
So this is 35, 40 years later.
Yeah.
I never really used the fish filleting knife. I used a boning knife.
Yeah.
Fish fillet that was so flat.
The long one.
Yeah, real long. I never used it that much. I may have given that knife, but the rest of them at school, we put, you engrave them with your initial.
Yeah.
I still have those knives. I used them every single day when I was working. Now, different things, exactly what you said. When people sometimes say, oh, I bought this whole block, I think what you were talking to, you have to know what, and cooks like certain knives. They fall in love with the bowl. You fall in love with a mug. I always say we're very ritualistic like that. You fall in love with one cutting board the most. You know what I mean? So I say to people, don't buy the block set. Go to the store and try different knives and see what you like and use it for a while.
And there are basically 3, like if I tell a customer, there are really 3 knives you need. You need a chef's knife or a santoku. What's the difference? A santoku is going to have a flat edge, meaning the edge of the blade. And a chef's knife is going to have a more curved edge and a point at the tip. The santoku is designed to slice straight down because it's a Japanese design. So it will go straight down. Whereas in the Western world, with the Western chef's knife, we cut in a rocking kind of locomotion motion. Now, retail suppliers are making rocking santokus. So people like the santoku design, but they cut Western style. There's so many variations out there across all the brands. So you need one or the other, and those are going to be your all-purpose. And they can range from 6 inches to 10 inches. A santoku normally is about 7 inches. I find petite people, women like 6 and 7 inches, men with big hands like 8 and 10 inches. And then it depends on the type of job you're doing. You need a utility knife, which is in between a paring knife and your chef's knife. Some are serrated, some aren't. I like a knife with a good tip because I can score with it. But I can probably get that in a paring knife as well, which some people might say that's the one I least use. And the serration is important. If you want the full-size bread knife or the serrated utility for slicing bread. Some people are like, I need it for tomatoes. If you keep your knife sharp enough, you don't need it for tomatoes. But it is good for soft tissue. So 3 to 4 knives is really all you need. Then you start seeing some really beautiful knives like a nakiri that you might like that looks like a little cleaver or a big cleaver. I was having a conversation in Minnesota this week because the lady's like, I like this boning knife, but what would I use it for? I don't really butcher. I'm like, you can use it on your salmon if you make your own gras blocks or smoked salmon because it's flexible, it's thin, rather than that long fish one that you had. So there are a lot of uses.
One of the things that I surprised myself, a friend gave me a santoku when they came out, and I love it. I use that a lot in my kitchen. But this is, and again, when you were talking about it, when I worked with Wolfgang Puck, he had just come out with Costco pans and a knife block. Okay. Now it's a small knife block. I think he was selling them at Costco for like $20. It was a Christmas special. And so at the end of the commercial, or what I was working with him, the satellite media tour, it was the middle of the night, he gave me one of the knife blocks. He says, you should take these home. They're pretty good knives. And I remember kind of thinking, oh, okay. Because Cindy and I, over the years, were given knives. And one of them was an infomercial called like Miracle Knives. And they cut everything up, Chef Tony and Cindy, we were snots, of course. The minute he gave them to us, the chef, it was very sweet of him. We both went, oh, Jesus, we'd never use a knife like this. And then we got back to the kitchen, and guess what? They were sharp and they worked great. And we realized we were snots. Yeah. So Wolfgang gave me this block. And for a long time, Courtney, I kept it in my second home, my little house I had here. And they're all Santaku shaped. They all have that, but in different sizes. Well, now I have to tell you something. And I sharpened them with the steel because that's what I'm asking you about. The honing. Guess what? I use those knives all the time.
Yeah.
They're great. They weren't expensive. They're not heavy. When you were talking about size, I've never been able to use a 12-inch chef knife in my life. Do you know what I mean? I'm short. It's too long of a knife for me. Yeah. I'm good with an 8 or 10-inch knife. That's just.
Knives are so personal. And it's like adopting a pet. It's like, the one is going to come to you. And it doesn't mean one knife is better than the other one. It's just a personal thing. They weigh differently. Western knives are going to be heavier than Japanese knives. Some of the knives are Japanese knives with these like beautiful handles with different sorts of wood, like copper wood and birch wood and all they're going to require more maintenance. Yeah. You mentioned the honing, which is important. I would say the majority of people don't know how to use a honing still. So how are they keeping them sharpened in between real sharpening? And now you're seeing blocks with self-sharpening kind of grindstones in there. There are electric sharpeners out there. There are whetstones, if you really want to get and learn the craft to do it. But a lot of people just don't have that discipline to do. So you got to feel out who you're buying the gift for. Are they going to really take care of this? Like,
my father, because he was a butcher, we had the black famous whetstone with, you turned it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I don't know I assume they still make it. And he always had oil that he used. Yeah. But since he was a butcher, he always sharpened his knives on it. Do you know what I mean? What would happen is my mother would cook dinner, and then he'd go to grab a knife and he'd say to my mother, oh God, these knives are dull. And then he'd go out to the garage and he would sharpen the knives. So I knew that before I got to school. I had seen that all my life. Now, I can hone a knife, but I learned for me, because I'm not very good at it. I don't think I'm very good at it. I never used one of those grinding ones at home because I was always told that those knife sharpeners weren't good.
The electric ones? Yeah. I don't like them. A lot of retailers offer knife sharpening with these electric ones that can do Western, Japanese. I personally don't like them because I've seen too many people complain about them scratching their knives. So, but some people say that's all they got and they like it and it's quick and so I'd rather take it to a professional. People ask all the time where you can get your knife sharpened. Butchers, yes, a lot of people don't know, but ask a butcher.
Yes.
Their mail order services, and they're like storefronts that are known for professional knife sharpening.
Cindy was so smart. She would go to the Gelson's, which is a high-end store here in LA. Yeah. And we bought so much as food stylists. She made friends with the butcher, but in reality, you should always make friends with your butcher.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I'm not talking about doing anything illegal, but make friends with your butcher. She would ask him, and he was so nice. Gelson's we'd leave the knife for a day. The girls would be back the next day. We could bring them 3 or 4 knives. They charged us less than a knife sharpening
service. Yeah.
Like $1 a piece. And then most farmers markets in my area have them now. And you go in with your 2 or 3 knives, have them wrapped in a towel. I usually mark them, but mine already got my knives are marked, or I'll take a picture to make sure I can remember what knives I'm giving the knife sharpener. And then for $5 or $6, those knives are good. Even then I cook every day. Those knives are good for 4 or 5 months when somebody professionally sharpens my knives.
Exactly. And then there's some that, which I was going to mention as a gift idea, like the Knife Aid company, mail order sharpening. And I think they started in a farmer's market in LA. And I was looking at their website. They repair knives too. So a lot of people have abused Japanese knives and chopping up frozen food or using it on bone or whatever, and it chipped them. They'll repair the chips, which is great. So there are a lot of innovative services out there.
I didn't know that. That's fantastic.
If you're going to spend about $200 for a Japanese knife and you're not going to take care of it, it's good to know there's a service that's going to take care of it or can repair it.
That is a great tip. I did not know that. Now, young lady, we're going to stop here about food for a few minutes, but I need you to tell people about your art.
Oh.
And tell us because Courtney, when I say artist, I'm not exaggerating. I mean, Courtney works in every I see your work. Courtney, you work in every medium and you keep challenging yourself. Like I see you doing new things because I think she's just got the brain for that. I mean, you obviously see it.
Well, there's some, I did not finish. I studied art school. I went to Parsons School of Design at the American University in Paris, and I did not finish. My mother was ill, my stepfather was ill, and all that. So life happens.
Got it.
And I kind of fell into retail. So I studied fashion design, but you know what? I didn't feel the passion for it anymore. And I'm glad I didn't, because even my professor, who I'm still in contact with, she's like, the industry is not the same. I'm so glad you pursued cooking, which is just another medium. So when you see me challenging myself, it's just me pushing myself with different mediums like cooking, to try different things and to see if I can, so it's like you kind of can give yourself your own education or finish your own education that you couldn't get in those few years of school because life happens. So yeah. And I've always appreciated your patronage, and you just see yourself evolving, and playing. And it started off with food, like drawing foods and stuff. But if I find I'm turning more into like a nature kind of artist. So
the beach pictures, the pictures of like the stairs and the beach that you had in a show, were especially one of the red ones. I did not have room for another piece of, one of the things, and this is, and luckily Kenny never listens. My husband never listens to my podcast, so it's safe. Now, when I buy something from Courtney, I show it to him. He goes, "Oh, I love that." He loves the I love our beautiful lady. I call her the fancy lady that we hung in the bathroom. Courtney did this one that's just this beautiful fancy lady in a sexy dress.
The burlesque lady.
Yes. Well, and then Pearl. And then I had Pearl with the orchids. Yeah. So a couple of other littler things. But see, Kenny, when he knows they're yours, it's fine. And I get them framed. Sometimes I frame them. We kind of had a rule, and I loved your stairs and the one that was red, and I saw it in my office as a bigger piece. But because I sold so many pieces I was tired of them now. I had them for years.
Yeah.
And they weren't.
You collect all over the world.
I collect all over the world. But you know what, Courtney? I'm supposed to be a minimalist now and keep my purchases to a minimum because I'm 71 years old and I don't have any more wall space.
That's just time to buy another house.
There you go.
But that's what I tell Mark all the time.
Now, where can people look at your art? Where can people look at your art?
You know what? So I wish I was a better art business person. They find them like you find them on my friends on Facebook. I do have an Etsy shop, Coco Collection Art. But most of the time, my stuff doesn't even get to that because someone has reached out to me.
Good.
online. So, my Etsy, I had like a lot of hand made ornaments and such.
Yes.
I do have a website, Cocoa Collection Art, but I have to say, like when I was a caterer, most of it is word of mouth or just from your circle. It's a weird thing, and I really need to get that better. But then when I think, okay, let me load up my Etsy shop, it just sits there. So it's kind of like I'm just hitting people at the right moment with.
You know what else, honey? You're busy.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that I love it since I've retired. Courtney, this is my favorite. People, not me, but people want to find me a job all the time. People say like, you know what you should be doing now? Or why aren't you writing more and everything? And I think to myself, because I don't.
This is a job. Right. This is your job. Right.
My job is to talk to Cindy once in a while, podcast, eat, watch Netflix.
You paid your dues. Right.
Spend too much time on Facebook and read a lot. I mean, and
it's like this culture that we have to be busy to justify our existence. So
well said. Well, now, did I not ask you something about everything you said about equipment is so amazing to me, Courtney, because you know so much. Okay, I'm very grateful. I learned the most that I learned about equipment, and this is because in television shows, sponsors sent us stuff for free for product placement. Now, and I don't even make these anymore, but one of the big sponsors was Calphalon in the olden days. Now, do you remember those dark gray heavy pots, and the oil got into them? I mean, they didn't clean up well.
No, they got kind of ashy on the outside.
All of it. But they used to send them to us for free. Well, those were one of the first ones I would give to people. I mean, we cooked with them, but now when I look at all the improvements, though, and the other side of the coin is I have Calphalon pots and pans that I've cooked in every day for 20 or 30 years, and I can polish them once a year with a little bartender keeper or whatever. They look brand new. Yeah.
So a lot of people don't realize. So are the Calphalon nonstick or?
No, I have nonstick, which was excellent, but these were just plain old Calphalon pans.
Okay, so they'll last. And a lot of people don't realize non-sticks and ceramics, they're not going to last forever. And there's so many bright, fashionable colors out there in ceramic coatings with the exteriors and the interiors. And I tell people, yes, pretty, but are you cooking or are you? And if it's chipping on the outside, what's the interior going to do? So, but good value price, like your green pans. There's this new one, Caraway. At Costco, I see that Gotham brand that has like a kind of copper interior. There's a lot of ceramic cookware out there, but people just need to realize it's not going to be a lifetime investment. But if you treat it right, it will last you a while.
Honey, I have to say that I have people. I would say one of the questions. I don't care where I would be taking class. People would say, do you think it's safe to use Teflon? And I'd say, you know what I mean? People just go, do you think it's safe?
They just use that word, Teflon. It's like, they mean non-stick. Like when someone comes in and says, I want a Cuisinart, they're saying they want a food processor. Cuisinart has a whole line of appliances. But in their mind, Teflon is non-stick. And I tell them most luxury retailers are not selling Teflon. I think you'll find Teflon in the dollar store maybe, but that's it. Most luxury retailers are not selling Teflon.
Well, I need to tell you, so they ask me, they go, is it safe? Because they're worried, they've heard poisonous gas comes off of this stuff. I always say, I think you're as safe as if you're trying to ride a bus in LA. Okay.
Yeah.
Something is going to kill you. So you might as well just get used to it. But I'm with you. I do use nonstick for my eggs. I like it for eggs and Courtney. That's what and I buy one that's pretty. And you know what? I don't take real good care of it. It cost me $21 at Ross's or someplace like that. I use it for a year, and then when it looks crappy, I put it in Goodwill and move on.
Yep. And I remember reading your food stylist handbook. I remember reading you talking about that for before a job. You get a good cat. I mean, they're not going to last forever, but you just want that perfect, slide off. But yeah, just for eggs. Other than that, I'm using enamel cast iron, stainless steel, carbon steel, or just regular cast iron.
Well, Courtney, of course, because I like you, I could talk to you all day.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for your valuable time today.
Mm-hmm.
People just will have to I like your that people find you, but I will say this: whenever you post anything on Facebook, just to promote you, people really love seeing your work.
Oh, thank you.
There's no doubt about it. It's inspiring.
Yeah,
Inspiring.
thank you. That means a lot.
Oh no,
And
it's so true. Well, thank you,
we
Courtney.
didn't really talk about gifts though, but yeah, the knife sharpening,
You know
their
what?
cheap electrics, their dish towel. Just read the mind of the person you're giving it to. There's something for everybody.
You said it. You said it, girl. Excuse me, it's Denise for barging in here. But we were running out of time, and Courtney had such great gift tips that I'm inserting them right now. Well, I'm not. Cindy is. We know I don't know how to barely to turn on the computer. But here's what I've got for you. Courtney's gift tips, and I love them. For do-it-yourself gifts, source for dry milks, powder, popcorn toppings, or hot chocolate. I don't know if any of you have made those things, but Cindy and I have made some of those in cute jars with the bow. She gave us the website HoosierHillFarm.com. Hoosier is HOOSIER, hillfarm.com. I went to the website. There's some great gifts there. And because of this, one of the things I bought for me, just for my house, Courtney turned me on to, it's literally cream powder. So you can have cream in your cabinet whenever you want, and you can whip it up and it makes whipped cream. It's really good. It's like evaporated milk, but it's whipped cream. And I think Cindy won't be able to answer me, but I think that we used that in a couple of fancy European desserts that we had gotten recipes from one of our international clients. But I bought a thing and I've used it twice. And if nothing else, if you've run out of half and half, you put a little teaspoon of that in your coffee in the morning and stir it up. It's divine. All right. Gift item number 2, gift tip number 2 from Courtney. Knife Aid. Knife sharpening and repairs with gift card options. So it's knifeaid.com. Now, this is such a smart idea. You can send them your knives, they'll sharpen them and they send them back. Okay. So all I know is most of the people, which Courtney and I were talking about, I go to some beautiful homes, wealthy friends, blah, blah, blah. They don't have a decent knife in their house. And if they do have a decent knife, it needs to be sharpened. So this could be a great gift for a cook. Signing up or giving a gift certificate for classes at Sur La Table. And I agree, because these are the most interactive classes from retailers. After COVID, cooking classes have had a while. Real honest to goodness cooking classes are having a hard time coming back, but Sur La Table is doing it because they're set up for it. Dish towels from Williams Sonoma, really absorbent and the best. Again, this is from a woman, Courtney, who's catered, been a chef, and loves to entertain. So she knows her way around a good dish towel. Number 5 she gave us was nuts.com. She wasn't talking to me, I don't think, was she, Cindy? No. It's for nuts, candy, spices, supplies, baking supplies, teas and coffees. So you could make your own do-it-yourself mixes and gift boxes. And then 6, Courtney's idea was a gift subscription for your favorite newsletter writer, chef's newsletter, classes on Substack or Patreon. Now, I have to say this. My friend Judy Franchini, and it's called Diva Cucina, has a Patreon station, or what do you call it? Anyway, if you look her up, you can take classes. Judy lives in Florence and teaches Italian classes that are just fantastic. And they would really unrivaled. You'd really enjoy it. And that'd be a great gift to give someone. I would like to get that. again, you can't go wrong by giving somebody a cooking class on Italian pastas. That's my feeling. Now, Cindy and I have written many cookbooks, but also we did many cooking segments with our friend Lori Corbin on gifts from the kitchen or gifts that you can make yourself. And one of them that Cindy and I had great success is we made fudge. We made plain old fudge right off that white sticky stuff. What is it? Fluff. Marshmallow Fluff has a recipe that's always been on the jar for fudge. Well, I'm not exaggerating. It's one of the best fudge recipes ever. And the reason we got good at it was Cindy's and mine business clients were wealthy people. They have 2 or 3 homes. What do you give somebody that's driving a Bentley and has 3 different homes in Europe? Fudge. We gave them homemade fudge with a fancy little knife. And I'm going to tell you something. They all said the same thing. I'm not exaggerating. I don't think I've had fudge like this since my grandmother made it for me. So a homemade gift like that can get you a lot of goodwill and a lot of happy memories. Our friend Dorothy Reinhold taught us all about succulents many years ago. And when your plants die, hang on to the pot, and then at Christmas you can plant that pot with 3 or 4 darling succulents, put a big bow on it. It's a fabulous gift for someone also who may not be so good with plants. And I can testify to this. I moved to Ventura. I'd had a really hot backyard. Things died a lot in my house in LA. It was too hot. Ventura is 10, 15 degrees cooler, but it loves succulents. So I have gorgeous succulents that I can break pieces off. This is an amazing thing. You don't even root the succulent piece. You stick it in the pot and it grows. Okay. So last year, for my neighbors on either side of my house, that's what I gave them. I gave them new succulent pots. They loved it. They're on their front yard. Now, this was really cute. This was Cindy's idea. A big old soup jar, but you put a mini bar in it, a bar to go, a cocktail to go. So if you wanted to give somebody a Manhattan gift basket, you give them the miniature bottles from Bevmo of the grenadine, of the bourbon, whatever your drink is, gin and tonics, but they come in miniature bottles and you can fit it in this soup, a big mason jar soup size, and then they have a cocktail. They have a bar already. You can travel with that. You can't drive with it, but you could travel with it. Now, the same thing in those jars, which remember, and you've seen them, but I've received them as gifts. That's where you can do soup mixes with a recipe card. Cindy and I did that a lot. Remember, Cindy, and you did those darling recipe cards. We put a big burlap bow on it, but we put layers of 3 or 4 different peas or lentils in it and gave people a recipe with a big bow, and then they could make their own when they get home. It was very cute. People like it. Another one, of course, is quick breads. I have given the same pumpkin bread with chocolate chips in it for how many years, and people love it and they're grateful. And if you don't know this, one bread pan of banana nut, or like my pumpkin bread, one normal size bread pan is 3 of the mini loaves. So at the market, you could buy 3. You can buy those little tiny aluminum mini loaves and give 2 of those as a gift. So you can double your recipes and get 5 or 6 loaves, and 2 of those loaves to somebody with the bow on them would be a darling gift. I know for me and my husband, we have a neighbor that gives us handmade tamales, and it's one of the best gifts we get all year, because I'm not making handmade tamales, but I sure do want to eat them. And then this was Cindy that I use every night. 2 or 3 years ago, Cindy gave me a lavender pillow. It's my serenity pillow to help with my monkey brain. Can you see how it's working? No, you can't, but never mind. Cindy made little tiny pillowcases and stuffed lavender in there. And oh, it smells so delicious. You can put it in the microwave. Just be careful about the fabric. But it's just, I keep it under my regular pillow, and my pillow smells like lavender, and it helps me go to sleep. So hopefully, and of course you can buy any of the things I talked about. It just costs more. But there's easy. Limoncello is another Cindy gift. Kahlua was another gift I gave for years. Those are easy recipes. You can get them. You can ask us for one. Go to our website. We'd be glad to send you one. Or ask us a question. Also, you can get any of those recipes now. All you need is the cute little glass jars to put the finished product in. You have time still to make your own Kahlua and limoncello if you start right now. All right. Well, thank you so much. And back to our episode. Thank you. If people want to reach us when we broadcast, Cindy, I use the royal we. When we broadcast, Cindy puts up all the information where you can find Courtney. Courtney is on Facebook. So just so if you want to request her friendship, if you're not friends with her, she's very particular. So don't be offended. Don't be offended if she doesn't friend you. But thank you, Courtney. If you want to reach out to Cindy and I, it's womenbeyond@icloud.com. We welcome comments, and we get comments, and we thank you. And Courtney, yeah, but you know what? You taught us a whole lot. You taught us a lot, and people can go into, see, I always say this, like with knives, go into a store. You may not want to buy it at that store that day, but if you put it in your hand and try it, it will, it'll give you a good sense of then what you want to buy and what you're going to spend.
Right. And it's kind of arming you with some information before you go into that store, some knowledge. Because some people just don't know. So.
And they're afraid, and I don't blame them. They're afraid. Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Women Beyond a Certain Age. Goodbye, Courtney. Thank you.
Bye.